Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone, in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Let's replace the word universe with Beatrice. The minimum number of people required to create Beatrice is 2. However, even a single person could give birth to her, and yet that single person desired a second person to acknowledge the Beatrice created by the first person. That meeting where the second person is a scene Maria has just described. The single person who created Beatrice looked for a second person to acknowledge Beatrice and selected Maria. We don't need Ferudo Erica's heartless reasoning to know that the teacup magic was a sleight of hand. Maria, believing in the story about the anti-magic toxin, would close her eyes whenever magic happened. Any sleight of hand would be possible while she had her eyes closed. The caramel Maria had been given as proof of her meeting with the witch had melted a little because Maria had doubted, in a season where one was likely to put ice in their tea, it was only natural for caramel left in a bag to melt. Ushiromi Maria, the girl who's too trusting and will accept a story easily. Beatrice appeared first in front of this girl who had, in the language of witches, very little of the anti-magic toxin. The creation of Beatrice can be thought of as an egg being laid. When a single person creates her, it's little more than a daydream. She's still inside the egg. If, and only if, a second person acknowledges her, the shell will crack and she'll appear. She'll only appear if a second person comes to warm the egg. When Maria acknowledged Beatrice, she finally hatched, and the chick was born. In that case, Marriage Sorcery, which nurtured Beatrice in her magical compendium, was like a nest. This Beatrice, a woman with a dignified presence, who calls herself the Witch of Rokkenshima, and who claims to have lived 1,000 years. That sounds less like the chick Beato, who appeared in the previous game, and more like Beato the Elder. So did the meeting Maria has just recounted mark the birth of Beato the Elder? The egg itself had already been created by the first person. Between then and the meeting with Maria, it matured immensely inside its shell into a character with the dignified presence of 1,000 years. Then, when Maria acknowledged it, it hatched, and the witch of Rokkenjima finally gained a form. Perhaps that moment marks the birth of the Beatrice of 1986. The younger chick, Beato, was born out of love for Battler. Since that birth hasn't yet occurred at this point in time, the birth of Beato the Elder and the existence of Beatrice at this moment must have nothing to do with Battler. Are you enjoying this reasoning, Berncastel? If you are, let's at least have some applause from the spectators. Great. Thanks a bunch. I wished for Beato to grant me a lot of things of magic. That's why I'm helping with her resurrection. What is it you wished for? Lots and lots. Not telling. So, you wanted to protect your mama from the Black Witch. How did you know that? You're incredible. Ooh. And you're already sure that you'll never be able to get that world back without a witch's help? Yep. I love Mama. She's so nice. I want to be with her forever, for all eternity. Now I'd like to hear about marriage sorcerer. What's wrong? Don't wanna, huh? I'm thirsty, so I'm gonna go get something to drink. See you later. Maria became suddenly formal, bowed her head, and left without waiting for a reply. It was a very un-Maria-like thing to do. I see. So the game master has moved to the piece. Apparently she's telling me to ask about something different. At some point, Leon had started chatting with the other family members. Jessica seemed to be getting irritated at having her butt pinched so much, and George was trying to calm her down. Jessica and George. Guess I'll hear their stories next. Compared to Maria, the anti-magic toxin is very strong in these two. At least, at the beginning of the other games, they didn't acknowledge Beatrice. Maria showed me the point of view of one who believes. Now to hear from those who don't. I apologize for our successor Salma's lack of courtesy back there. It's not going to leave a mark, is it? Talk about merciless. Did you say something, Jessica? Of course not. I've already learned my lesson, okay? Lion, who had apparently been chatting with the adult siblings, spun around with a smile and stared at Jessica. Looks like the older siblings firmly in control around here. Those are some sharp ears. I think I'm finally getting this Lunar person. Yeah. Our successor Sama always been weirdly sharp, and the adults are always gushing about that kid, and I'm always getting compared to that, both at home and at school. Come to think of it, Leon was the student council president, but during both middle school and high school, and the head of the badminton team too. So everywhere you go, you get compared to Leon, and it doesn't match up too well for you. I said it as soon as I got into middle school. Our successor Sama was already the vice president of the student council. I said, if you're planning to become council president next year, that'll just put more pressure on me, so stop it. But the next year's rolls around, and guess who announces their candidacy and wins by a landslide election? Same thing again in high school. I said, please, just give it a rest this time. You've already vice president. But when your year 3 rolls around, our successor Sama gets the council president job again. Dad was oh so proud. Mom kept saying, now you make sure you do your best as the little sister, over and over and over again. But even so, you were still proud to be Leon's little sister, weren't you? It's not like I ever thought of it that way. Yeah, of course not. Why would I? It can be tough to be compared against perfection, but other people are other people, and you are you. There's no point letting it get you down. Live how you want to, with all you've got, and you'll be fine. Of course. But Mom and the others are always going on about how I need to follow in Ushiromi Leon's footsteps as a little sister. They keep telling me to go to join the student council, to go play badminton. You don't play in a rock band, do you? What? Shh. That's a secret, okay? Apparently she's keeping it a secret from her family. Interesting. People tend to blame things on their family and how they were raised. But this Jessica girl always liked doing the same thing, even in a different world, in a different family. It's admirable that she has such a true and constant interest in something. I loved it. That pettan. I'm pretty sure that's a song in Union Rhythm Psychosis, the Denpa game I've been playing. It is a good song. Then again, all the songs pretty much kick ass. Though honestly, there's a couple Nanahira songs and Mosaic songs that are pretty good, that are not included in the game, so maybe future DLCs will include it. I already have all the current DLCs that are available to purchase. Hopefully they make more. That Dokyon Dokyon song. Wah wah wah. Shh. Nothing wrong with the extraordinarily accomplished sort like Leon, but kids who at their age do have their charms. That's the best way to go through life. Enjoy your youth to the fullest. Thanks. Apparently no one had ever told Jessica that they approved of how she lived, and the direct way Will had put it made her turn red and hang her head in embarrassment. I want to ask you to now. The same thing you just asked Maria-chan. Yeah, please, tell me everything you know about Beatrice. Well, you can see how much Maria-chan loves witches and the occult. For her, Beatrice is a symbol to be admired, like an anime heroine. However, whenever some trivial thing happens, she believes it's some witch pranking her with magic. You really are an adult, And so is the fact that you'd never say that to Maria, even if you think it. Of course, childhood dreams only happen when you are a kid. I think respecting that precious experience is an adult's responsibility. Looks like the two of us will get along well. George's position was that Beatrice was nothing more than a fairy tale. However, that phrase, respecting a child's dreams, is the adult thing to do. That might be worthy of further scrutiny. When she got candy from Beatrice by magic, Maria probably got excited and told George and the others. Then the adults followed his lead and actively supported the story as adults should. However, we can conceive of a similar situation coming up besides an adult interacting with a child. For example, what about a subordinate interacting with a superior? If Kinzo, tyrant of the Ushiromiya family, claimed that Beatrice existed and had revived, perhaps the other members of the family would actively support that story as his subordinates should. Though Beatrice only appeared directly in front of a limited number of people, it's probably safe to say that the concept of her existence penetrated deeply within the Ushiromiya family, even among those who had never seen her. However, no matter how deeply that concept penetrated, she was only viewed as a sort of fairy tale character. It would be necessary to transform the concept of that character from an imaginary fairy tale into reality. So, a person attempting to do this would need to perform acts that no one could explain without magic. These acts were the witch incidents, starting with the window opening pranks played by Beato the Elder, and ending with the closed room murders. Beato the Elder talked about this, saying that the anti-magic power filling the mansion would be weakened bit by bit more. She made her existence known. Beatrice, why were you willing to go so far to make everyone besides you accept your existence? Because that fiction will become the truth if everyone acknowledges it. Because at that moment, that being called Beatrice will be acknowledged and will become human. In that case, until Beatrice is acknowledged by all people, she is less than human. She's furniture. Why would furniture want to become human? I seem to remember this being a theme in the previous game. It's because they want to gain a right. Furniture cannot fuck. Or love. I'm sure it could be multiple four-letter words. Live. So they try to become human because they want the right to fuck. The right to love. The right to live. I don't know. What do you guys think the word is? It's extremely simple. After all, it's directly connected to the reason Chick Beato was born in the first place. I see. I understand. But it's complicated.